Could you talk a bit about how your team started?
The idea of the project was to attempt to enter the Spaceport America Cup for the first time. So there was a department and a professor called Victor Fendham who started a small little project with about 5 or 6 people to go to this competition and compete in this competition. So they launched Amy at Spaceport America Cup in 2018, and it managed to get the closest to the target altitude. It was quite lucky considering that it did launch at a considerable
angle.
So I think that was, it started very, very, very luckily. It was a really exciting project, and everyone who did it that first time round went away from it being like, oh, we've got to do this again. So they sort of formalized it within the uni a bit. And then in 2019, they went back to Spaceport America Cup to launch Helen, once again aiming for the 10K ceiling or the 9K altitude category, but they kind of smashed through it. And they ended up going to 36,000 feet. Sorry, I'm switching between kilometers. It became the UK altitude record. So it became the highest altitude that any UK uni had launched to. So then since 2019, we have somehow managed to hold onto that record, and no rocket managed to beat Helen. Over the early 2020s, we had COVID, and that kind of really hindered the team. But there was a couple of concept designs going on at the time. So they were concepting a rocket called Vesna, which never really went anywhere. And then they started concepting Kármán Alpha / the Kármán series of rockets. In 2022, we started manufacturing Kármán Alpha with the aim of launching in July 2023. And we managed to get the 2-stage rocket all put together and launched in America. However, it did not beat Helen's altitude. So Helen's altitude still holds 2 big milestones. We've got the liquid development engine, which I'll let Dominic talk about at the moment, because that's very new and exciting. But sort of the long-term goal of the team over the last 3-4 years has been to attempt to get something to the Kármán line.
As with any rocket team, let's be honest.
As with any rocket team. I think it's like the first one that you put down, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the ultimate goal.
To the liquid stuff, what would you say your milestones and the story behind Sunfire is?
Yeah, I guess a bit of background on that as well. From the liquid engine side of things, the Sunfire 2, I don't really know what happened with Sunfire 1. There's a lot of lost info somewhere. But Sunfire 2 was the UK's first regeneratively cooled engine tested. So ICLR got the first liquid biprop tested, which is very, very impressive. We got the first regen. It didn't fully work, but it kind of started. That whole thing was supervised by Alistair John, our academic supervisor, who then kind of turned it into the Race to Space National Propulsion Competition, which is where other UK unis can show up, test their liquid and hybrid engines at proper industry test facilities like Airborne and Proto Launch down in Westcott, which is a very, very amazing opportunity for all teams involved. Sunfire 2 specifically was kind of only really final year project students, so they had a load of 3rd and 4th years for their dissertations, do an aspect of that. But recently, I mean, in the past academic year, there's kind of been a bit of a shift, because we were thinking, okay, we've got an engine, why not put it on a rocket at some point? So Sunride has kind of absorbed that, so it's no longer just final year project students. If there's only actually one this year, it's mostly just within the Sunride team who are sorting that out now. I mean, I'm a 2nd year, I don't know how I got here, but hopefully launching this summer. There's a bit more testing that is required, but that is the milestone at the minute. That is the milestone at the minute for the kind of liquid propulsion side of things. And of course, we recently did successfully hotfire the Sunfire 3 engine 3 times, which is something that Sunfire 2 unfortunately wasn't able to achieve due to channel burn through. But yeah, so it's kind of been an iterative process on that side of things.
Could you talk about your university a bit?
We study both at the University of Sheffield. Truly think it's a fantastic university. We're both studying aerospace, so I think we're doing exactly the same course.
Yeah.
And neither of us went into avionics, but both of us went aerospace.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but I'm truly very happy that I decided to go to Sheffield, especially to study aerospace. I'm from England, so is Dominic. So studying a university in England is obviously a lot cheaper and a lot easier. And there's a bunch of government systems which help us go to university, essentially. I was always going to pick, and I'm sure Dominic was going to pick, a university inside the UK. But I think I chose Sheffield initially because it has so many engineering projects like Sunride. There's a whole host and a whole department, in fact, at the university set out just to help student-run, student-led projects and support student-run, student-led projects. And also, as part of the aerospace engineering course that I'm doing, there's a module which is private pilot instruction. So I've always wanted to learn to fly as well. Sheffield also gave that opportunity as well. And I think it's a really brilliant uni. I think the course is also well divided into theory, but also we have a lot of group building projects. The fact that we got last year or at the start of this year around £30,000 to build and run this rocket project and build the projects around it. It is truly fantastic that the university is willing to support that.
Yeah, we're very, very grateful that kind of the fact they have a dedicated department to it is something that is very unique as far as I'm aware, which is a really great thing. I really do like the course. It's just a nice uni. There's just I know it's very vague, but I like the vibe of it. You know what I mean?
No, it's good. I think Sheffield in general is also a very chill city. People in this are very willing to talk to one another, and it does have that sort of homely, quote unquote, aspect.
Yeah,
I know that now I've been at the uni 3 years, I definitely consider Sheffield my home.
I always thought that I'd prefer like a campus-based uni, but then I came here and I was like, nah, I prefer this. It's a small enough city you can kind of get around everywhere, but it's not big enough that it's kind of almost too daunting in a way. It's like a comfortable size, especially for a university.
Are you planning on doing a year in industry, Dom?
Yes, I am. Not a private pilot's thing, but I am planning, hopefully after my third year, between third and fourth, because I'm also hoping to do the masters, hoping to go out somewhere. Not really sure yet. I need to apply for positions next year, but yeah, that's another thing. Of course, year in industries is.
I chose personally not to do a year in industry or an Erasmus or a placement somewhere else, because I'm doing the masters like Dominic, which is a 4-year course, but I kind of wanted to get uni over and done with, move on to industry instead of getting a taste of industry and then being told no. And I think that a lot of the experience that you get on Sunride with design, build and manufacture, with management, with teamwork, with all of those quote unquote industry experiences, is really brilliant being able to get that.
What are your job opportunities after finishing university?
In terms of like the career path I want to go down, I've kind of figured that I really like rocket engines. So basically anywhere I can do that. There is a lot of companies that do support that and do get involved with it. There's a good amount of industry contact, I'd say, that is like available.
I think that the space sector in general is growing a lot, and me and Dom are both very lucky as two people who really want to go and work on rockets, still actual building / designing the rockets. There is more opportunities than ever before to build / design rockets. So I think in that sense we're both very lucky. But there are lots of international companies that are doing it. But I think in England you have Skyrora and Orbex. Both of those are trying to build orbital rockets. They've been trying for a little while. I think that if either of those in the UK launched a rocket in the next year or before I finish university, I'd absolutely love to attempt to work for one of those companies and get some hands-on experience. But like Dominic said, there's also loads of smaller companies in the UK that do one specific part of the rocket. For example, there's loads of satellite companies, engine companies like Airborne and Proto Launch. You have some military companies like Nammo and BAE. Rockcell.
Kinetic. There's a bunch of other ones as well.
How's the experimental rocketry community in England?
It's great. Rocketry is a small enough sphere where kind of everyone knows everyone, you know? Unis, non-unis alike, just regular amateurs. I mean, like, for example, as I'm sure you might be aware, the Reliant Robin Space Shuttle, like those guys who did that, a couple of them go to our local launch site and we just chat with them. It's really great. They give us advice. They let us know when our ideas are bad. So we're very much in touch with other teams because there's a UK Uni Rocketry Discord server. Just chat about like what they're doing, giving other people advice, sharing their experiences. Because I think in the past, specifically Sunride, I'm not really sure why, but there's a lot of secrecy, which I think was rather detrimental. And because everyone's trying to achieve the same goal, which is just launch cool rockets. So learning from others' mistakes, saying, okay, exactly this went wrong is a really useful thing. And it moves everyone forwards in a way. And especially, again, Race of Space, Alistair's pretty much mandated that all teams participating in that create a build thread for everyone to kind of have a look at their progress, give advice if they have any, or take inspiration from their designs, which is a really, really useful thing. It just encourages like collaboration and stuff. And we actually got invited ICLR's test site to watch a couple of their hot fires the other weekend, which was a great experience. Lovely people, really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's a very nice community to be a part of. And
I will say on that point, but back to the old geezers, there are a lot of old like amateurs who've been doing amateur rocketry for 40 years plus, you
Yeah.
know, and they are brilliant fun, and they're very happy to share their knowledge and engage with us. And like, as Dom hinted on briefly, but I want to add a little bit more information. I don't know if you've watched Top Gear, Etto, classic old British TV show, but they in one of the early episodes they build a Reliant Robin, which is like a little car, like a space shuttle. They try and turn a car into a space shuttle, launch it with a bunch of solids and Q-class hybrids, and that was Colin and Chris.
Yeah.
And there's also an episode where they do the mini ski jump, which I'm not sure if you remember, where they send a mini with a bunch of rockets down a massive ski jump ramp, and send it. It's brilliant. But actually meeting these guys, who personally I grew up watching videos, and some of the reasons why I absolutely got into rocketry and engineering, actually getting to meet them and them to help us so much and give us so much advice and support is really brilliant.
Yeah, they have decades of experience, and it's just like, yeah.
And on that point, I'd say one of the huge things that really make the community in England is the launch site. There's a launch site called Midlands Rocketry Club, and they do a launch once a month. Granted, the weather is okay.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad recently.
It's been pretty bad lately. But granted, the weather's okay. They do a launch once a month, and it's brilliant to see like little kids, like 6 years old, launching tiny little A-class pieces of cardboard, and then like Chris and Colin launching their giant hybrids that zoom up into the air. And in England, it's very difficult to launch rockets because there's a lot of regulation. The CAA are very strict, partly because the country is so small. If you send something tall high into the air, there is a good chance it will land on someone's house. But I think that with EuRoC, so the UK Rocketry Association, actually keeping this launch site going every month and encouraging the uni teams and all the other amateurs to come to this event every month and launch rockets and talk about the rockets they've built has definitely led to the community being so cool, so much fun.
Yeah, and those guys have fought to keep rocketry legal, because like in the past there was question marks over whether even owning solid motors in the UK would be legal, and things like when there was the kind of nitrous oxide ban, those guys fought for rocketry to be an exception to that, to keep hybrids available, because hybrids in the UK, while we can't make solids due to explosives laws, somewhat understandably. I'm a bit jealous of the Americans, though, I'll be honest. But we can make our own hybrids and launch them, as long as you kind of go through the correct streams with EuRoC to keep them informed, just so it's safe. Then it's those guys have made sure that it kind of stays open for everyone, which is a really, really impressive thing.